Your righteousness is as filthy rags. The best that you can do in keeping the Torah, the best that you can do in keeping the law, to God, is as rags that are wrapped up around the putrid sores of the leper in Palestine at that age.
Okay, so this is a verse that's taken out of context so much, and I don't think the people that use this verse in response to people saying, hey, you should keep such and such commandment, has really thought it through. Because what do they think God is saying through the prophet Isaiah? Like, hey, you guys who keep my commandments, you should stop doing that, because it's sad when you do that. I don't accept the righteous deeds that I've commanded you to do. It disgusts me. Oh, but it also disgusts me when you don't keep them. Is that how you think God is? Because that sounds like an abusive relationship to me. So let's take a look at what Isaiah says here and see if we can make sense of it. Isaiah 64:5, you meet him who rejoices and does righteousness, who remembers you in your ways. You are indeed angry, for we have sinned. In these ways we continue, and we need to be saved. But we are all like an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are like filthy rags. We all fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. And there is no one who calls on your name, who stirs himself up to take hold of you. For you have hidden your face from us, and have consumed us because of our iniquities. So look at that. The one God meets with is the one who does what is righteous. But God is angry with these people because they have sinned, and in these sinful ways they continue. So why is their righteousness like filthy rags? Because even though they're doing things like keeping the Sabbath or observing the feast days or bringing their offerings to the temple as they're commanded to do, they're showing partiality in God's law because in some other way, they're sinning and continuing in that sin. Therefore, God does not accept whatever righteous deeds they offer when they're showing partiality to his law. And this is the same thing that he's saying in Isaiah chapter 1, that even though they keep bringing sacrifices into the temple, God doesn't accept them. Why? Because he hates it when they do what he commanded them to do? No, because their hands are full of blood. When you come to appear before me, who has required this from your hand, to trample my courts? Bring no more futile sacrifices. Incense is an abomination to me. The new moons, the Sabbaths, and the calling of assemblies, I cannot endure iniquity and the sacred meeting. Your new moons and your appointed feasts my soul hates. They are a trouble to me. I am weary of bearing them. When you spread out your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, put away the evil of your doings before my eyes. Cease to do evil, learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. So he says, I don't accept your sacrifices or when you come together to observe my appointed feasts because you're oppressing the poor, the widows, and the fatherless. Then, when you have ceased to do evil, only then will I accept your offerings. And this is the same thing that Jesus rebuked the Pharisees for when he said, Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. These you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. He wasn't rebuking them for tithing. He was saying these offerings are worthless when you neglect the more important aspects of the law. Here they are making sure they tithed these things, and yet they had murderous hearts towards the Messiah who had done no wrong. They were murderers who thought that God still accepted their offerings. So no, God's not rebuking his people for obeying his law. He's rebuking them for continuing to disobey his law. The modern equivalent of this is when you have pastors and their congregants raising their hands and voices up in song and worship to say, I love you, Lord, and yet they ignore his commandments. Your offerings of song and praise and prayer, no matter how many of you there are or how beautiful it sounds, is not acceptable to God when you turn your ear away from hearing his law.